Well, everybody, it's that time again. We are in the back half of the playoff capsules. John under with you. It is Sunday, April 16th, 2023. How is everybody doing out there today? Tomorrow will be the start of our NHL playoff coverage. I have the composite schedule ready to go. Alec Nava is going to join me for game one of these series tomorrow, and we will figure out the rest of the landscape and everything else that's in place. But for right now, let's get into the Western Conference scenarios and we'll let you know what it is. So we'll start in the Central. It's the Colorado Avalanche, the defending Stanley Cup champions. They are 51, 24, and 7 for 109 points. And the Pacific wildcard numero uno, Seattle Kraken, 46, 20, and 8 with 100 points on the season. It's just their second season in existence in Seattle, and yet they've already made the postseason. It's Jared Bednar versus Dave Hakstol. Those are your coaches. Defending 2022 Stanley Cup champions versus expansion breakouts, and Poised again versus gaining experience. If you followed any of this stuff in the East, it's going to work the same way in the West, and we'll get into it starting with stats on centerpieces. So first for the Avalanche, 71 games played for Nathan MacKinnon, 42 goals, 69 assists, 111 points, plus 29. That's pretty good for missing quite a few games, especially at the beginning of the year. Mikko Rantanen, he played all 82 games, and because Nathan MacKinnon, Cale, Makar, some of the other big injuries like that, when you're losing players like Andre Burakovsky, you have to be able to make up some of that production. Well, Mikko Rantanen did that and more. 55 goals, 50 assists, 105 points, plus 15. JT Compher, all 82, 17, 35, and 52, plus 8. Artturi Lehkonen, I've loved that pickup from Joe Sakic from the Montreal Canadiens on that side of it since last year at the deadline. 64 games played, 21 goals, 30 assists, 51 points, plus 8. Nichushkin, 53 games played, 17 goals, 30 assists, 47 points, plus 15. On the other end for Seattle Kraken, you cannot take them lightly. Jared McCann, 40 goal scorer. Who knows if he would have still been that for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but in the expansion he went. 40 goals, 30 assists, 70 points, plus 18. Jordan Eberle, all 82. 20, 43, and 63 for a plus 6. Matty Beniers, the University of Michigan second round pick rookie, he played in 80 games. 24 goals, 33 assists, 57 points, plus 14. Probably the front line for the Calder for the top rookie. Yanni Gourde, former Tampa Bay Lightning man, 81 games played, 14 goals, 34 assists, 48 points. And Daniel Sprong from the Washington Capitals, that legend, 66 games played, 21 goals, 25 assists, 46 points, and plus 13. So the interesting note for the stats on centerpieces in between the Avalanche and the Seattle Kraken is this. One is a full of superstars laden, and one gets it done by committee. But the Seattle Kraken are one of the best goal scoring teams, and we'll have more of those nights, and we'll talk about that in the league. So this should be a series where goals are going to be scored, but there still relies the many inline questions that we will get to further along in these notes. And the next step is addressing the premium defense. Cale Makar. He played in 60 games. He dealt with a multitude of injuries this year, but still had 17 goals, 49 assists, 66 points, and plus 16. Devon Toews, 7 goals, 43 assists, 50 points, plus 39 in 80 games. Sam Girard, 76 games, 6 goals, 31 assists, 37 points for a minus 10. And Byram, again, he missed about half the year. 42 games played, 10 goals, 14 assists, 24 points. Vince Dunn, kind of wondering if they should have held on to him in St. Louis, right? 81 games played, 14 goals, 50 assists, 64 points, and a plus 28. There was a time where Vince Dunn was the top plus minus of all defensemen in the NHL. Justin Schultz, 73 games played, 7 goals, 27 assists, 34 points, plus 4. And Adam Larsson from the Oilers, 82 games played, 8, 25, 33 for a plus 27. So, look, when you have Cale Makar and you have young defensemen like Devon Toews and Byram, it certainly makes things difficult if you're Seattle on the other end. But those numbers that I've thrown out to you between Vince Dunn and Schultz and Larsson, especially with the plus minus, Seattle's a very good 5-on-5 team. And Vince Dunn is one of the very best defensemen that we have in the league this year. I don't know how far that track record will extend with the St. Louis Blues on the former side of it, but he was still good then. He's really had the breakout now. He's been a first-line pairing. He's got that time, and he's showing that he deserves to be a top 2 defenseman on that top pairing. And Ron Francis, the general manager, is going to have a lot to do in the offseason. I think one of the very first dotting the T's and crossing the I's they're going to do is that contract to Vince Dunn, making sure he gets a long-term extension to be able to stay at Climate Pledge. No doubt about it. For the goaltenders, Colorado Avalanche, it's been a good pickup from the New York Rangers and Alexander Georgiev. They didn't give up a lot to get him. Just a second and third round pick on that side. 62 games played, 40, 16, and 6 with a 253, 918 save percentage, and 5 shutouts. Pavel Francouz will likely be the backup, but it depends on his health. You could have Justice Anunin and a couple of the other ones in there as well. So it's going to be Georgiev's net, no doubt. But Francouz, 16 games played, 8-7-1 with a 261 and 915. On the other end, this is where it gets a little dicey here for the Seattle Kraken. There's been some good stories in here with Martin Jones, and we'll start with that. 48 games played, 27-13-3 with a 299, 886, and 3 shutouts. And Philip Grubauer, 39 games played, 17-14-4 with a 285 goals against and an 895 save percentage. Those are not good numbers for Seattle. And when you talk about Philip Grubauer, you're also talking about he's going to be here for at least 5 more years as far as that 7-year extension on that side. So of all the things that Ron Francis touched that turned to gold, goaltending was not one of those. The Philip Grubauer signing was not a good one. Again, they expected him to be a little bit better because he was good in Colorado, but you always have to think about on that side and use that head meat when you're pointing to your brain in the sense of you had everyone else in Colorado in front of him to be able to have those type of numbers. I know Seattle's had a great year, but it's not the same type of defense and the offensive firepower. Even though Seattle's good, Philip Grubauer is not going to be able to have those same kind of numbers. You got to think they expected more than an 895 save percentage and an 886 for Martin Jones, but it's just not going to get it done. So some key injuries, and this is on both sides. Dennis Mulligan for Colorado with an ACL tear, and the captain Gabriel Landeskog. It was the most disappointing news that I've seen all year. So the captain was out all regular season. They were hoping from that knee injury that he could try to get everything together and make that push for the postseason. He's not going to be able to do that. He's going to miss all of this 2022-2023 season. So we will not see Gabe Landeskog. And for the other end, the former Colorado Avalanche Andre Burakovsky that they signed in the offseason, who's been great. He is starting with a lower body injury. Who knows if he'll even be available? So that is a huge blow for the Kraken on that end. So specialty teams. And this is another situation where it can get very dicey. So for the power play for the Avalanche, as expected, 24.5%, which is good for 6th. 19.8 on the other end for Seattle Kraken, which is 21st. Penalty kill is not a strength for either one of these teams, but I don't think that'll matter as much for the Avalanche, considering the numbers. 79% for the Avalanche, which is 17th, 76.7 for the Kraken, which is 21st, same as their power play, ironically. Goals for, 3.34 for the Avs, which is 11th, and that's remarkable considering all of the injuries that they have. You'd think that number might even tick up in the playoffs. Seattle Kraken, this is their big expose here, 3.52, number 4 in the NHL for goals for. They score a lot and they play quick. Goals against for the Avalanche, 2.72, which is 9th, and 3.05, which is almost in the middle here for Seattle. That's 15th. So my thoughts. This seems to be a matchup that is a heavy advantage for the former Stanley Cup champions. Again, they are the reigning now, and who knows if they're going to repeat this, but I think this is a heavy advantage for Colorado. So look, I love the depth and the scoring that Seattle can bring, and the defensive side is pretty good, but that goaltending, that's just not good enough. And the special teams, when you're thinking about Colorado be able to attack you, when you're 21st on the power play and you're 21st on the kill at a ghastly 76.7, that's not good when you're going up against the Avalanche. So I'm very concerned about the goaltending. Specialty teams aren't great, and I don't see much here. But still, as we've done within the Eastern Conference Capsules, we got to give reasons for both, and I do so in the same in the West. So for the Avalanche, this one's pretty simple. All you really have to do, if you're the Colorado Avalanche, get out of this series and stay healthy. Seattle's not going to be a very physical team unless you're talking about Sands, Jamie Alexiak, and some of the other ones for the former Dallas Stars. Get out of this without injury and take care of your business quickly, and do so no later than 6 games. This should not be a series that goes more than 5, but I'm going to give Seattle credit for as far as their depth scoring and say that they can push it to 6. But in between Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and some other pieces that you can throw there. Look, I understand Colorado lost some depth in the last couple of years, but you still have Nichushkin and Artturi Lehkonen. They have more weapons than Seattle, even though Seattle does a great job scoring goals in their back-end defense, even with some of the injuries that they've dealt with Cale Makar. Some people would say he's had a down year. He's still got more points than games. He's just not been able to stay healthy. But now is a situation where you start in the postseason and you make that push. Colorado was very hot, and they got into the top of this matchup to win the Central on the last game of the year from the water main break in Nashville when they played against on that side. So I think this is going to be all Colorado. And when you have Alexander Georgiev on the other end, whether it's against Philip Grubauer or Martin Jones, that is a humongous mismatch. And on the other end, if you're Seattle, you have to be able to not only score at the clip that you're doing, which is 3.52, you might have to even output that more against the Avalanche and get them in a track meet. And again, I don't even know if that's something that you want to do against Colorado, because they even showed you last year in the sweep against the Edmonton Oilers, they can win games 7-6 if they have to. But I just don't know. And on the other end, for the back-end defense, that's great, but you have to be able to shut down the superstars like Rantanen and MacKinnon and Cale Makar wheeling and dealing with the puck. And I think that's very difficult, considering Girard, Bednar and the systems and all of that. They're really damn good on that end. But when we talk about it for Seattle, here's the main thing, and you already know this because I have to bring it out. When you're talking about Philip Grubauer and you're talking about Martin Jones, you're talking about goaltenders that are having a .886 and an .895 save percentage. Those need to be bumped up to about .920 if you even want to be able to stand a chance in that series. You're asking for a 30-35 point uptick, and I don't think that's realistic on that side. I know Cooper Hopkins, when we did our one of our previous broadcasts before we got into the postseason, I'll make sure I'll get in touch with him on that side of it. He asked me, John, can they win one game? And I said, yes, they'll be able to take one of those ones in Seattle. But he goes, can they win two? And I go, that's kind of a coin flip there. I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about it. Look, I think Seattle's a great team, and I sincerely hope, especially when they get in the climate pledge, but across the whole thing, be poised to try to get an upset. Don't just be happy to be here if you're Seattle. You know that you're an elite offensive team. You know you have guys like Vince Dunn and Adam Larsson on the back end. This is a good Seattle team. Don't just be happy to be here. Take on this challenge against the Stanley Cup champions and do your best to be able to give them everything that you have. That is the task at hand. I understand how hard that is to do, and I also understand that you're going to have guys like, again, Grubauer and Martin Jones go 30 to 35 points more on their save percentage. But that's going to be exactly what's required in order to get this done. If they can do that, if they can still score at the same clip, and they can somehow shut down Mikko, Rantanen, and Nathan MacKinnon, they can at least get this to a 6-game series. But I don't think you can do it long enough to make it 7. So as far as I'm willing to go is 6, but I'm going to take Colorado in 5. The series opener will begin Tuesday, April 18th, 10 p.m. Eastern on ESPN.